Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you. If you're here right now, I appreciate you. And if you're not, hey, you can see it on YouTube, okay? It is Easter Sunday, and I have a distinguished guest. I love him. He's spoken words artist D.S. Will, okay? I've been excited about getting this king on for a while. He's a busy man. Tell us about what you do, and I know you said something about the arts.
Yes.
That you are the president or you were involved in it or something. Go ahead.
So my current role right now is a dual role. So we have a annual festival, the Raleigh Film and Arts Festival, that's founded by artist Christopher Terrell.
Okay.
It's a wonderful festival that basically highlights films from over 20 countries.
That sounds exciting.
A year. And so I was blessed and fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to become the director of poetry for the Raleigh Film and Arts Festival, and now I am the PR chair for them as well. So what my duties basically involves is that anything that revolves around poetry and how we can include it in the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, and also it's other events that kind of revolve around it, and we'll speak more about that later. I'm the person that's booking the poets and kind of organizing it, so on and so forth. And when it comes to my PR role, it's really about putting out advertisement, the creation of flyers, maintaining those relationships with media outlets, so on and so forth. So it's a couple of full plates, but it's very, very rewarding.
It sounds very rewarding.
Yeah.
And what date and when do you do it? What month is that?
All right, so the actual festival is going to be on October 7th through the 9th at
Okay.
the NC State's Centennial Campus.
Okay.
So I encourage everyone to
I'm
attend.
going to put that on my calendar.
Everyone.
Yes.
And we have our first offshoot event, though, on the 21st of April. It's going to be in Dorothea Dix's Park in the
Okay.
newly renovated chapel. It's a program called Arts on the Hill. Play presents Play on Words.
That's wonderful.
We're going to have 2 spoken word artists, a visual artist, and then also a filmmaker as well. So we'll be interviewing these individuals, allowing them to perform, and it's free.
Okay, you heard that, free.
It's free.
Yes. It's so hard to get things free these days, you know?
So definitely come out and support the community, because if we don't support us,
Who will? Who will? Absolutely. I said that. I say it all the time. And you know, we're talking about entertainment and things that we do for artists, which leads me to the Oscars. You know what I'm going to talk about, right? You know, so Chris Rock is a comedian, and Will Smith is kind of a comedian too. I mean, now he's into acting, and you know, he used to be into, you know, rap and all that. But he does have a comedic side. I've seen some of his movies, like Hitch, which is funny to me. But what do you think about that big moment? You know, he was going to get an Oscar, and then it was like spit on because of the incident with the slap. What is your take on that? First of all, if you was Chris Rock, what would you do?
Ooh, that's such a loaded question.
Yes, let's just break that down. So the slap happens. What do you think about that?
Man, this is my overall opinion, because everyone and their mother's cousin's pet has had
An
a
opinion,
taken,
right?
an opinion,
Yes,
and a podcast.
yes, yeah.
The situation's
That's true.
unfortunate for everyone
Yeah.
that's involved.
Yeah.
I would say that, and especially as it comes to our depiction and portrayal in mainstream media, and when it comes to stereotypes, things of that nature. Here you have 2 juggernauts in their respective fields, right? Both Chris Rock and Will Smith, highly respected, awarded, so on and so forth. And we have their legacies, both of their legacies,
Yes.
their royalty marred by a split second decision that's going to haunt both of them from now on. And so it's difficult, because on one hand we do have the protection of our queens.
Yes.
On the other hand, we have that representation in trying to fight against stereotypes. On the other hand, you have the attack of black masculinity that Will has had to deal with
yes.
all throughout his career.
Absolutely.
I mean, you think about Will Smith, right? This isn't something that just sprout from red table conversations. You know, when you think about hip hop, Will was never seen as
Yes.
the hardcore rapper.
He was criticized for his
was-
hip hop.
He was corny, so on
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
forth. And so many things that he had to go through. So again, not rationalizing the slap because of that, but giving an explanation, and just how, you know, it kind of reverberates through so many different facets of who we are. I feel that there's a double standard when it comes to us.
Yes, it is.
We have to be behaved, in anything that we do, in any sector,
It's under the microscope.
Will
Yes.
be held against us from
Yes.
now on. So where you have individuals who have engaged in incredibly egregious behavior,
Yeah.
and it gets swept underneath the rug, and they get to go about doing what they would do, right?
Yeah.
So with that situation, I hope it's something that we can learn from.
Yes. I don't know what though, from a queen's point of view, but I agree with what you're saying, but that's a toughie.
It is. It's so sad.
What
It
can we
really
learn from it?
is.
Just never slap anybody before we get an Oscar. Not when I'm getting my award now, honey.
I believe what we can learn from it is that we have to be cognizant of
Yes.
the demons that we are battling.
And the environment that we're in, And I'm going to say something my dad used to say, God bless the dead, in the environment of the white folk. And what I mean by that is that, like you said, we are under a microscope. And remember, the person that was putting together this whole award show was an African American.
Yep.
And he was trying to show this beautiful production that he was doing. And he was doing a beautiful job. Unfortunately, it had to be one of us that ruined it.
Yeah, it's definitely problematic.
That is problematic.
But you look at what stemmed from it, right? So obviously Will was dealing with some things. And then we have the conversation, again, going back to health, not just physical health, but dealing with our mental health. So we have to, there has to be safe spaces that are created for us to be able to express the difficulties that we're going through for both black women and black men. But, you've kind of focused on black men. There's this stereotype that westernized view of masculinity, of not having emotions and being stoic, and you can't express when you're angry or you're sad or whatever. So once we start to break that down and we create those safe spaces, we have less of those incidents in which we blow up. Because that stuff doesn't go anywhere.
No.
Disappointment, sadness, anxiety,
none of that.
It just stores up. And then the least likely incident, like the Oscars, occurs. And then you have something
Boom.
again that's tattooed on you from now on.
I agree, because that was where I was going to lead up to about mental health. And did you feel that there was something going on that was deeper than just him going to slap? Like, was it a mental health thing? Because, at first he was laughing, and then he slapped him, and then he walked off like it was nothing. It seemed like it was kind of a mental health issue to me. I didn't take it as, I just wanted to defend my queen.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like his personality.
There was definitely an amalgamation of things that was going on there, that he was facing. Again, just those demons and that pressure, and being in the spotlight and underneath the microscope 24/7.
Yes.
And when you're in that lens, there's image is so important, right? Image is basically your career, and that's what helps you be able to get certain gigs, so on and so forth. So when you've created this image for decades of being the acceptable one, right?
Yes.
And then you do this, and then all of a sudden you're the unclean thing. It also goes to show you how fickle the support or the acceptance that some of us are trying to gain, right? So this well-behaved, you do one thing though, then you're no longer considered one of the good ones. So it's another thing to discuss, and that's why it's important for us to create our own platforms.
Definitely.
And not hold these awards in such high esteem. Everybody wants to be recognized by their peers. Absolutely. But self-love is important, right?
Absolutely.
I may not need an Oscar to be labeled as being credible.
Heal thyself.
Exactly. Not looking for validation from other sources, but your validation coming from with you and what God has sent you to do.
Amen. So I want to ask you then, this wasn't on my list, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because it's just flowing so well. So with that being said, what would you consider a high-valued man?
A high-valued man is one that is cognizant and comfortable with self, but always open to evolving and improving.
Love that. I'm going to have to use that. I love that. That's
just
beautiful.
Get 50% of that.
Yes, that is. You hear that, high-valued women? He's single, okay?
Oh,
so
Lord.
now let's talk about that. let's talk about that. You're handsome, you're intelligent, you're at the prime age. Everything's going just beautiful for you. What does a high valued woman have to do to get you? Okay, Queens, listen up.
Authenticity is at the core of it.
Okay.
Being your authentic self.
Yes.
And again, if you're your authentic self,
Yes.
and we mesh and it's organic, then that's how not you can get to me, but how we can create a union. We have to eliminate the I's, right?
Right.
So many of us have these checklists of, this is what I want in my partner, this, that, and the third. But you have to have a checklist for yourself because you're going to gravitate who you are, right?
That's right.
And you really have to take that into consideration. Are you right? Are you healed? Are you mentally healthy? And this goes for both men and women when it comes to creating partnerships. We can't look for someone to be our supplement to fill in something that's missing. You have to search for someone that is your complement.
He's preaching now. Go
that
ahead
is going
now.
to sharpen you as much as you sharpen them.
Yes, absolutely. So a high valued woman would be.
What I just said.
I knew, you know what? I knew he was going to say that. I just wanted to see if he was going to change it up a bit. I knew he was going to say that, okay? I love it. Okay, so now we talked about that. Kevin Samuels, do you know anything about him? Have you heard about him? Have you seen any YouTubes, anything, or people out there in the atmosphere talking about this man?
I'm not one of his disciples. I haven't even listened to a whole show. I've kind of heard snippets of what he said, but I pretty much know what his
kind of
deal
like
is.
So what is your opinion from what you've heard?
It's, when you think about, I put him in the category kind of like shock jocks, right?
Okay, shock factor.
Yeah, people say things that are filled with sensationalism to get attention, because you really, again, have to think about intentions.
Yeah, what is his intentions? Yes.
Intentions is very, very critical when it comes to any type of relationship or what I choose to spend my energy on. It could be from a show that I'm watching to a relationship I'm trying to build. Like, what's the intention and what are we going to get at? What's going to be fulfilled at the end of this? So, when I've heard some of the statements that the brother is has come out of his mouth, I don't know if it's for constructive purposes or it's for views. Right?
Yes.
So we really have to investigate that. I am all for building the black man.
Right.
The black man knowing his worth. But it should not come at the expense of the image of the black woman.
Yeah, tearing down the black woman.
And vice versa.
Which he thinks he's not doing. But it doesn't seem that way. Yeah.
I would have to listen to more, which I probably won't. So, and able to come up with a concrete opinion, but again, it's healing. It's healing on both sides. And
yes,
what's interesting is that some of us, we haven't had examples of what true love looks like.
Right.
When you look at the home, what does a true marriage look like? What is a healthy relationship? What is healthy
feeling my
communication?
vibe. That was my next question. How do you feel about marriage, like traditional versus situationship entanglements?
Well, I don't want to be entangled with nobody. First of all, that costs money. So, I don't want to be entangled with anyone.
Right. Situationship versus traditional marriage.
And it just has a negative connotation to it. There's so many different views on that. Whatever floats your boat and creates a healthy relationship is what you should go with. So if it's traditional marriage, by all means, get the white dress, get the party and the honeymoon. If it's just you habitating with each other, if that works for you, then that's perfectly fine. But what works for me may not work for you, and it shouldn't be my job to try to convert you into my belief system if what you're doing is successful. That's something else that we need to learn, right? Simply because someone doesn't agree with our belief system, it makes them wrong or they become our enemy. But you got to be able to listen to each other, because even if you disagree with someone, you may be able to gain some insight about yourself to even improve your situation.
Absolutely. My next question was about that. How do you feel about comedians? Do you think they're under fire now? Do you think laughter is no longer, is laughter being policed now, that we're not going to have any more laughter anymore?
It's being blown out of proportion. It's something for the headlines, as a comedian, that is your job, in order to make individuals laugh. And, you start getting into the dicey area of freedom of speech. I will say this. We all have freedom of speech.
Yes.
Be prepared for some of the consequences that may happen to that.
Absolutely.
Based upon that freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it at that.
That's a good way of looking at that. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some fun facts now. On your bucket list, where would you like to travel? You went to Rome.
I did.
Hey, let's back up a little bit. How was Rome?
It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was unnerving at first. I went by myself.
Okay. That was an experience.
And I encourage all our folks, get a passport
to travel the world. The world is a classroom, I always tell people.
It is. It is. And when I think about the reasons why some of us don't travel, it's very interesting when you have those conversations. Some of us feel that we don't belong in other places.
Which is odd because we originally are from the other side.
Boom.
We're not from here.
Facts. We feel uncomfortable if we're in a place where people don't look like us.
Yes.
And that's human nature.
Yes.
But you belong there just as much as anybody else does. First of all, just from a historical context, right?
Exactly.
But if you have the means, go. And that's another thing. People think, like, I don't have the means, I can't afford to travel.
It's no more expensive than going anywhere in the United States.
And let's do some math, right? So let's say you go to the club every weekend.
You spend $600 on groceries like I do, and then go, hey, I could have bought a dining room set.
Exactly.
Okay?
and you get a table service at the club. You get in a bottle, so you spending about $200 to $400 at the club every weekend. If you don't go to the club for 2 weeks, just 2, you can buy yourself a plane ticket.
That's
and
right.
then you can break down all your other expenses. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The club is always going to be there. You see the same folks, and they probably going to have the same playlist. You can sacrifice that in order to experience something completely different.
Absolutely.
And then find out something new about you. Like when I went over there, it's like I can navigate. So even though there's that language barrier, I can do this. 2, I can be able to experience things that I only imagine and fantasize about while reading books. And that a kid from the projects in Jersey City can take a picture in front of the Pantheon.
That's amazing. For all you brown children, black children out there, understand that the world is your classroom. And you can go anywhere and do anything you want if you just believe it. Stay inspired. I love that. So on your bucket list, what else do you want to do?
Travel-wise,
yes.
Let's see. I definitely want to hit up London. I want to hit up Paris.
Yes.
I definitely want to go back to the motherland and experience multiple countries there. Like you said, it's my classroom now, and I know that it can be done, and it will be done. So make sure you get a front row chair in that classroom of the world. Yes,
stay inspired. The world is your classroom. We can't say it enough because brown children, black children feel that all they got is the U.S. And there's so many things that you can learn from going to other countries, and the food is so good.
Ooh, that part.
Woo!
That part.
Yes.
That part. Definitely.
Yes, the food. Your palate changes, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes, and your choice in music changes too.
It does. Absolutely, because you're exposed to something different.
Yes.
And that exposure to something new is so exciting because, one, you have an appreciation for something new, and then your appreciation strengthens in what you're used to as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's this very interesting positive duality that's taking place.
Yes, it's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. We can't stress that enough. So what would you say to the young people out there, younger than you because you're still young, of course,
shucks.
that are coming up and they're interested in the arts, but they also know that they have to make a living. So how would they juggle that?
This is two-sided, right?
Yes.
And this is also about a project that I'm going to be working on. First, I want to talk to the parents of these children, of these prodigies. One, we have to stop believing that arts can't be lucrative.
Amen.
And I get it, right? Because, again, backgrounds and, our grandparents and parents have struggled, so they want the best for their children. So let's get them in fields where a check or salary is promised. But that may not be where your child's intelligence is.
Yes.
They may not be a mathematician. They may be an artist. So if you pour into them,
yes,
from an early age,
yes,
encourage them to do this, they will spend their time and energies honing that skill to where they become a master at it,
yes,
and they can make the money because they're at a level where it can be lucrative. But if you're dispeopled, then first of all, they become ashamed of what their natural gift is, and then you force them into something where they don't feel passionate about, and that's why you have so many people with master's degrees and bachelors doing jobs that they don't enjoy and not being able to move forward.
You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's look at the camera right now. Let's talk about that. Let me tell you something. My next question, that's how I know we're vibing here, was, can you be successfully wrong? The answer is yes. You can have a PhD, a master's, a bachelor's degree in the wrong field and do exceptionally well. And wake up one day and go, I never wanted this. Why am I doing it? You know, it's because it's not what you wanted. It was mediocrity. It was your parents. It was trying to follow the norm of what you thought you should do to please other people. And so you get success, but you're unhappy with your success.
Exactly. Going back to the parents for a second, I know a lot of us have our different opinions on Kanye, but what I will say, I watched the documentary on Netflix, and there was one scene where Donda West, his mother, knew the lyrics of his rap song. I'd never seen that before. Like, his mother knew the lyrics of an unreleased song. And the reason why she did that is because that's the investment and the belief that she had in him. And that's why he was able to believe that I'm going to be the biggest star, not just rap star, the biggest star ever. Because from infancy, his mother believed that.
Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. And, you know, let's separate the man from the problems he has and his gifts and his talent. Two different things. People try to put them together. It's not. It's not. You can be a success in something and do something bad, but it has nothing to do with the human being himself. So he's still gifted. He's still talented. And his mother saw that. The only reason I personally feel that he got into a lot of things is because his heart is hurting from the loss of his parents.
Yes.
And that is just a horrible, traumatic feeling for him to go through, or anybody to go through, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, you know, as you were talking about that, that brought back so many memories of my own parent guilt. But it was done the same way with me. Growing up, I felt it from a young child that I wanted to do things, and my mother kept pushing it aside. And then my father kept pushing it aside, and I kept trying to push my way through it, and he would say, no, 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 no. And I even tried my best to get out of it. My father did the same thing to me. And so I thought, okay, I'll just go to college and I'll become a teacher or, you know, something like that. But I was chosen to do so many things before that, but my father pushed, and then I ended up, unfortunately, doing it to one of my sons, the same thing. He, every day from the age of 3 or 4, they would say, oh, he's gifted, he's talented, he's this, he's that. And I would go, and then he started asking me, can I go do this? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I be on TV? Can I write? I would go, no, wait till you're 16. Well, guess what? 16 came. He says, hey, Mom, I'm 16. I was like, oh, God.
It's here.
So I understand that, you know, it's unfortunate. So, like you said, but this is a special time. We've been through a lot.
We have.
But it gave everybody a chance to reflect.
Yes.
To find out what their purpose is. And it helped parents, too, to realize that they didn't have to do what we just discussed. Because now even parents are like getting an awakening going, okay, maybe I'll try this. I will not do this job anymore. I'm going to be creative and do what I always wanted to do. And now they're pushing their children in a different direction, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're finding, we discussed this, they are finding their worth.
Yes.
That time in quarantine allowed you to be able to really tap inside yourself and say, what are my gifts? I have no excuse to put it off because I'm not involved or distracted by anything else.
Right.
And when that period is over, I'm not going back to that job in which I'm being paid $10 to $11.
Yes.
Because I know the capabilities of what
Right.
I am able to do, and I'm going to pursue that. And we have so many different avenues and
Yes,
outlets to where we
absolutely.
can pursue that.
Yes.
And we can't minimize it. Just going back to kind of like the parents or anybody
Yes.
who tries to discourage you from what you're doing. What I find interesting is that people put their limits on you.
Fear.
Yeah, they're like, you can't do that
Because I'm scared.
because I'm scared because I was unable to
Absolutely.
do that.
Yes.
And that's when you respectfully have to say, I'm not you though.
Exactly.
This is me.
Yes.
And thank you for the cautionary tale, but we are two separate individuals with two different sets of experiences. I know what I'm going to accomplish.
Yes.
And nothing's going to stop me because it's already written.
That's right. I agree with that. And I just had an aha moment. So you know what? I'm going to leave my son alone. He's like, Mom, I don't want to go back to school. And I doggone it, that pandemic made him not want to go back to college. Okay, but he wants to pursue it to something else. And I'm like, okay, deep breaths. Because like you said, if that's who he is, let him find his way. He will. He will find his purpose anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's a profound moment in your life that you went, aha. Yeah,
That's very
a
interesting.
defining moment in your life.
I would really have to say again, it's during the pandemic. Like so many things happened
You
at that
sure
time.
did. Yeah.
I believe that moment was kind of like it was a shared aha moment. I was talking to my dad, and my dad kind of wanted me to go on a particular path. But then he realized what my passion was, and he realized you can do this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna back you 100%.
That's a great feeling.
It really is.
It really is, especially coming from a black dad. You know,
Yeah.
that's really a profound, great feeling. Because a lot of African American sons, whether they're married, as they stay in a relationship, you know, with their parents or not, or their parents are separated, but to have their father have their back is awesome.
Yeah, he's like my life coach, like in essence. And what's interesting is that there's a 40-year age difference between us, right? So he is going to be 79 on the 20th of April, and I'll be 39 on the 22nd of April, right? And so even though there's that generational gap, he's contemporary enough. I have an old soul. We kind of meet right in the middle. But he's still very aware of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And to have that person guide you is so important. That's why my black men, be in your children's life, whether it's a
Please.
son or a daughter, because that is pivotal and that's incredible.
imperative.
It's incredible for their survival. You know, Chris Rock, you know, he always has that famous line, you can drive a car with your feet. You can, but it doesn't make it right. You know, you can,
I like that. Yeah.
you can survive in a single parent household because I'm a product of that. But it could be so much more beneficial for that child in
Yeah.
realizing who they are if that male is there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
I love it.
Yes. I wanted to ask you something about our queens today. This has been on my mind. Oh, queens. You know, we're some beautiful women, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we come in every shade, every height, every weight. Everyone's trying to look like us, okay? You know?
Yes, they are.
But what I wanted to speak to is something is going on, though, with our psyche now, our confidence. You know, we pretend, you know, the queens now are pretending, I got my bag, I'm getting my bag, you know, and they're trying to really push this whole thing on red bottom shoes and just fly girls traveling. The one thing I've noticed though, where are the men? Do they have men? Or do they want a man? Okay? Because I know I would want one, all right? If I'm going to be traveling with my red bottom shoes, I don't want to have a pajama party with you all the time. I don't want to hang with you all the time, okay? I'm a queen. I want to be with a king, okay? Girls, hey. But talking about what's going on with this kumbaya thing? I mean, it's wonderful that we have a sisterhood. It's wonderful that we're connecting. But it's almost as if they're leaving you guys out. What's going on?
That's a loaded question, isn't it? I don't know if I have the authority to answer that question. I love it. I love the fact that our women are receiving the spotlight. And you see it in entertainment. You see it with Supreme Court appointees.
Yes. Oh,
and so on and so forth.
congratulations. Yes.
It's a long time coming.
Long
because
time.
of the the baggage
Yes.
and the responsibilities that so many of our women have had to carry in all different facets of life. But the family structure, the black family structure, has always been something that's been tricky and convoluted, and a lot of it is not of our own doing, even from a historical
that's right.
perspective. What I will say is that we're always better together.
Always,
right?
Always.
For both black men and black women. So there's nothing wrong with having that spirit of independence, creating a sister or brotherhood. But just know, again, when you think about that family structure, when you think about procreation, when you think about legacy, we need each other in order to sustain that. One thing that we have to stop doing, and again, a lot of it is based upon our background and just survival instincts, we're always thinking about the clear and present danger. What's in front of us now? We're not thinking about 6 months to a year from now, whether it's to be instantly gratified or to handle something that needs handling. So when we have this independent spirit, we have to think about, it's great that I get to do these things, but what seeds am I planting for the person or people or the legacy behind me?
Right.
Because what I'm doing, I may not be able to benefit from the shade of the trees, but the person behind me will.
Absolutely.
So again, to our sisters and our brothers who believe that we don't need each other, keep those things in mind, because again, we have to be the preservers and creators of our own history.
You hear that, high valued women? This is a king who's single. Anyway, also there was one more part B to this question. What I was going to say is that because K. Michelle, bless her heart, Queen K. Michelle, thank you so much for the platform of talking about us as black women. We have somehow, this is what I was going to talk about, lost our confidence in our beauty. Why have we got to a point now that we have to keep on cutting ourselves and abusing ourselves and going to quack doctors? Because most of the doctors that I've seen, I started watching her show, have been quack white doctors who sometimes I don't even believe they have their best interests at heart. I said it, that's right. But, and the thing is, these women are young, 20s and 30s, cutting up their body to get a smaller waistline or a bigger butt or whatever. Now, hey, first thing, I'm not putting down plastic surgery. That's my disclaimer. I believe people should do what's in their heart that makes them feel better, but not at the benefit of destroying you based on trying to, like Kay Michelle said, looking at an Instagram. And ladies, stop trying to compete with each other for a smaller waistline because she got a smaller waistline. You ain't trying to date her, okay? A man don't care about your waistline. If he likes you, he gonna like you for your brain and your body, the way you are beautifully made. So I want to talk to you. How do you feel about how black women are feeling like they have to do all this now?
So
young girls.
2 parts of that.
Yeah, 2 parts.
One is a male. I don't have the authority over the black woman's body. So whatever she wants to do.
You heard that, right?
So whatever she wants to do or feel that she needs to do, I really don't have an opinion on that or to be able to govern that. What I will say is that we have to change our definitions of what we consider to be beauty and stop allowing corporations and media and false images to be able to determine what we consider beautiful, right? And again, that's one of the curses of social media, because you're constantly making these comparisons on a day-to-day basis. And most of the time, you're comparing to something that's not real.
That's why I said it's a thief of joy. Comparison.
It is. And not just with body structures, with everything.
Everything.
Success. I can lean on a Mercedes-Benz and post that picture, and then you think I have everything under control.
Oh, he has a Mercedes. I want a Mercedes. But do you really want one, or you just want to go? You see him leaning on one. That's the whole point.
A friend of mine once said, right, and she's a very renowned artist in the area. She said, when you compare yourself, you have to ask, is that what I'm doing it for?
Yes.
Is that the audience that I'm catering to, so on and so forth? So when you think about these beauty standards, one, you got to find the value within you, right? And what makes you beautiful. And you have to be your own number one fan, no matter what size, shape, or what you are. Because if you are transforming yourself, you're going to the people that are going to gravitate towards you, they're going to gravitate towards an inauthentic version of you, which therefore creates an inauthentic relationship, which is not long standing, because you have to constantly do work to maintain an image that's not real. So don't you want someone who's going to love you for who you actually are? But before that person loves you, you got to love you.
Absolutely. That's why I always say, be your own fan first. Because the beautiful people love themselves. Beauty starts from within and it's out. It's outwardly, it shines, So I always say that if you're beautiful, it's because you believe you're beautiful. If you're ugly, it's because you believe you're ugly. It's a state of mind. It's in the spirit, And I always also say that everybody's definition of beauty is different. So today, the waistline is small, the butt is big. What happens when the fashion change? What you gonna do? Exactly. You gonna keep cutting yourself? This is crazy.
Exactly.
So if you're doing something that you deep in your heart feel it's for you, fine. But not to try to keep up, as a long time ago, my mother used to say, the Joneses.
Keep up with the Joneses.
Okay.
Where did the Joneses live?
But on that note, this has been awesome.
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome.
Wonderful. I'm incredibly proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
We've had those conversations. I've seen the evolution and the growth and the territory that you're covering. This is a blessed platform because you're giving individuals the opportunity to be able to express themselves and to talk about their brand, but you're doing God's work. Because at the same time, you are glowing and you are radiant. You're being an example to young queens who want to become moguls, who want to become the voice of the voiceless. So continue doing this great work.
Thank you so much. And, again, tell everybody where they can find you and come to some of his shows and everything.
Absolutely. So the best place to find me will be at either Facebook or IG. So Facebook, I'm under DS Will. IG is If You Won't DS Will, and on those two platforms you'll be able to see everything that I have coming up, where I've been printed, and some very exciting initiatives that we're going to be moving forward with.
That's exciting. Thank you everyone for listening in today to Queen's Court Conversation with DS Will and I. Enjoy your day, and you can find me, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, and also I'm going to be in Dallas next week, okay? But anyway, everyone have a beautiful day. God bless you. Bye.